Okay.
Okay.
That's better.
Is it?
Yeah, I can't hear myself.
Okay. Mine was echoing a little bit on your end, but I think it's just the
Okay.
normal.
When we're done with this, I will hook up my AirPods to the work computer and we'll do that way if we have to.
Weird.
So sorry to anyone who no one was joining us before, but we hadn't started. This is a weird time for us. We're not usually on Tuesdays.
We're not usually on Tuesdays. No, it's throwing us off.
Thrown us off completely.
Yeah, we're here though.
Again. That is nuts.
That's never happened.
Ever, ever, ever. Okay, is that better? That's better.
That's better.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just clicked on and off, and then I turned off auto adjust the volume, which is one of Eleanor's least favorite things that these platforms do, because then she can't play around. So
yeah. Okay, cool. That's
okay.
much better.
I'll also say, as we're talking to everybody, hi, one of the things that's awkward about StreamYard for people is that it doesn't record separate audio tracks, and I just saw that it's in beta to record separate audio tracks.
Woo, go StreamYard.
That's exciting. Hello to everybody who is live. Hello to the replay crew. If you are part of the replay crew, make sure to leave all the comments and tell us what's going on. We are super excited. Today's live is going to be largely focused on my TED journey and what it was and some of the most common questions that I've gotten. But as is common for us here at The Good Doctors, we've got a couple kind of timely cultural things to say first in terms of empathy education, which is what we do here on The Good Doctors. And then we'll move on. And if anyone has showing up, if you're joining us live and you've got questions about my TED, please don't hesitate to jump on in. And again, if you're the replay crew, whenever you are watching this, however you are watching this, the TED is not live yet, so I'm sure we will be talking about it more and more and more and more as it goes on. You will get sick of hearing that I'm a TEDx speaker. Don't worry, that's my goal in life. But whenever you're encountering this, if you've got a question, I've got an answer. So make sure to leave it in the comment section if you're on YouTube or Facebook, and we will get back to you. So the first empathy education piece before we jump off is an update on former Pennsylvania Senator Rick Santorum. Mm-hmm. So Dr. Aaron, can you tell us about Mr. Santorum's current employment?
Yes. So those of you who've watched our lives know that in our empathy exercise segment a few weeks ago, I had a little soapbox rant about Rick Santorum and the horrible things he said, horribly untrue things he said about the origins of the United States of America. I don't like to use the word founding anymore. It implies that like we found something that wasn't here, but I don't know. I'm working my way through that language. The origins of the United States of America and the existence of indigenous folks on this land and in American culture, of which he was terribly wrong. There was then a entirely native-driven campaign. Friends at Illuminative, which is a creative arts platform, the National Association for Native American Journalists got involved. They had Twitter lives, they had Facebook lives, all trying to campaign to get Rick Santorum removed from CNN for his hella racist comments. And we had success. It only took 3 weeks, but we put enough pressure, proof that these kind of campaigns can work. A lot of people signed petitions. Our friendly, lovely Mark Ruffalo is super on it when it comes to Native and Indigenous rights and activism. And so his amplifying of the survey, I know, really helped. Rick Santorum was removed from his contract from CNN at the weekend. There was much joy for those of us that care and are concerned. And he proceeded. So that's great news. I like people being held accountable. We need to say things more openly and honestly about our Native and Indigenous neighbors and how they have been treated and are continuing to be treated in all forms of media. And then he went on Fox News and said that he was being savaged for telling the truth.
Which is a really unfortunate, is the generous word choice for that. And we both believe he intentionally knew what he was saying. And so again, in terms of an empathy exercise, we would ask if you or somebody that you love is supporting Mr. Santorum, we would ask you to consider researching perhaps some of the Native points of view as to why what he said was so hurtful and problematic. And there is no shortage of wise Native voices to consult on this matter.
So many. If you have any questions or you want some help getting pointed in the right direction, make sure and comment below. I have an extensive collection of fantastic Native voices that I follow on Twitter, and they've been very vocal and honest about this and the work that they've done to get proper recognition for both what he said and the truth of the matter. So it's not hard to find people speaking about this with authenticity and authority. So that's the Rick Santorum update.
Beep, 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 beep. The Rick Santorum update. And I'll be completely honest, I hope we never have one again. So now,
would like to not talk about Rick Santorum anymore.
Well, then let's talk about TED. So if you are joining us, we would love to know from where and what. If you would just drop a comment in the comment box and tell us where you're watching from. We love to get an idea of kind of this global community that YouTube allows us to build. So that would be great. But I said in one of the emails or somewhere, I can't remember, that one of the things that we would talk about is our corporate decision for me to do a TED. So Erin, would you talk a little bit about why you're not doing a TED, just to kind of get this out there? Because I get this question a lot, like, well, this is weird. Why don't you guys do one together? And I'm like, that's not Erin's calling. So talk a little bit about this.
Yeah. And I mean, it's an interesting one, right? And I know you had an interesting time explaining our business model to the fantastic colleague and coach that you're working with, Trisha Brook. But she gets us, and so she got what we were going for. We talked about last week that you are the extrovert and I'm the introvert. I enjoy speaking in public. I didn't used to. When I feel, yay, the not white at all north.
Hi, Jay. We know it's not cold, but not snowy. And as long as it's not snowy, hopefully you are not miserable. So hi, Jay. Yes, she is in Canada.
Fantastic. International audience already. Yes. So I do enjoy speaking in public. I have never had aspirations to be in the theater or to publicly perform in the way that it is one of Dr. Kristen's true passions in life. I love singing in the privacy of my car and in my home, not a karaoke, not my jam. So
I only drag her on stage when we are both 3 whiskeys into the night. So yeah.
I lost my voice and no one could hear that I was off key. So it's just not a part of my personality that it's not one of my gifts, I don't think. I'm an okay speaker when I know what I'm talking about. But for those of you that know and have seen Dr. Kristen speak or have watched our videos, she's much better with the words and the phrases than I am. And we bring different gifts to this. So she's always been the public front in that way. She's much better at networking. I hate networking. It makes me awkward and nervous and anxious, and I don't know how to do it. I've tried to learn and I'm learning and I'm growing, but not great at it. Kristen's much better at it. So it really made sense. And also she will tell you as when I hand over the stage, as it were, that she loves to do it and wanted to do this and feels very strongly that it is part of her calling. So it really made the absolute most sense. What we're hoping is that her continued TEDx success shines a happy light on the good doctors, and we can start doing things together, leveraging her success. Because it really does take both of us to do what we do. We feed off each other, we learn off each other, we change the way we think and talk and speak about things through each other. So it's very much collaborative. And when we land Gail King, which has been on our vision board for a couple years now, I will 100% sit next to her. after I've taken a Valium. No,
we'll get you there, sweetheart. We'll get you there.
That's not true because the Valium would work way too much on me and I'd fall asleep. But breathing exercises would be
about to say, you would just set your intention and your whole yoga practice that day would be about it, and we'll get there. It's all good.
We'll get there. But all that to say, for now, I'm quite happy to be her travel buddy and emotional support business partner and hold her purse when she goes out onto those bright lights.
Well, because that's the thing, and I was explaining to people too, like there are other business relationships like this. So the one that we use all the time is Elton John and Bernie Taupin. Because very legitimately, I am very comfortable standing out on stage in a feather boa.
Yeah. And I would just love to write all the cool songs. Thanks very much.
And so it very quickly became, I should say this too, when people ask us how our business works and why it works, it's because we have really complementary skill sets and we have really strong communication. And so this process of TED is a great example of that, where I come with a Trisha would say a bag of tricks that are both good and bad. And Erin comes with other ones. And so every speech I give gets run by Erin. She has, gives me feedback. She heard this TED Talk more than anybody else, probably but Trisha. And it's a huge team thing. And when I introduce myself, I say I'm one of the good doctors of Abbey Research, and that's incredibly important because of that. So this was a business strategy decision. I know for a lot of people, TEDx is a thing where they just want to do it once. They've got one talk in them and then they're good. That's not how we view it. For us, TEDx is a important part of our entire model. One, because the entire premise of TEDx is ideas worth spreading. So if you've never heard of TED, let me explain that really quick. TED's a nonprofit started in California around just that humans have ideas worth spreading. TED Corporate meets twice a year, I think usually in Vancouver. And then TEDx is a locally organized version of that. So like I helped run TEDx Belfast Women back in 2012, 2013. There's TEDx Pittsburgh, there's TEDx Philadelphia, there's TEDx University of North Carolina. I had a colleague, Whitney Hawthorne, who did an incredible job at TEDx University of Washington a couple of weeks ago. And that if we have not talked about on this channel, we're going to link their performance because they started off the whole thing with a land acknowledgement and it was really, really beautiful. But the local TEDx organizers are really the heroes of this process. And so the team that came together to do TEDx South Lake Tahoe is everybody from the MC to the people that curate, to the folks that decided the theme, to everybody who arranged catering and hair and makeup and everything else. It is a show. It is a top to bottom show. But TEDx means it's localized. It doesn't mean the ideas are less worthy than TED.com. It doesn't mean any of that. It just means it's localized. So that was one of the big myths I've gotten asked a lot, is exactly what is TEDx? And the beauty of TEDx too is, like, for Tahoe, they were able to have especially two specific Tahoe speakers to speak about things happening in Tahoe. Yeah. That is very important to the local community. And when those of us who are from outside communities fill out the applications, they usually want to know what we can bring to their organization. I just applied for TEDx Jacksonville, Florida. And one of the questions I had to answer is, how would my message affect Jacksonville, Florida? And so I had to do some research on Jacksonville, Florida, because I had never been there. And so that kind of stuff. So we'll start off with that. But no matter when we do land Gayle King and we do have great messages out there, for us, a huge part of our education piece is that the ideas that we have been privileged enough to build together and learn from other people are worth spreading. Mm-hmm. And there's going to be more, and we're going to keep getting more. And so I'll keep applying and I'll keep doing it. And this is not a one and done for us. I already have 6 applications out to future performances, and hopefully I'm chosen for some of them. Also, because a few of them we would really like to just go on vacation to. Not gonna lie. So that's a piece of this. Speaking is a big part of our business model. Obviously, hi, you're hearing us speak.
Speak out loud a lot in front of microphones.
Out loud. And we love these things where we get to talk to y'all, but we also love opportunities. Like, our hope is that when this goes up and it's permanent and it's there, which, to answer your question, we're recording this on May 25th. I performed on May 15th. The likelihood is like July-ish that I'll be getting that video and making it go live, because there's an editing process, there's an approval process. TED is a brand, and anybody who's in a business knows that you got to protect the brand. So before it can go out under the TED banner, they've got to make sure I didn't say anything that they didn't like. They got to make sure my title works. They got to make sure all that kind of stuff. So as soon as we have in our hot little hands, i.e. on the TEDx South Lake Tahoe YouTube video, YouTube channel, everybody will know about it. We are not keeping this a secret. Trust me. So that being said, again, hi everybody who's joining us, and we're seeing people flow in. We'd love to know where you're from, why you want to know about TEDx. If you're here because you saw that advert and you've got questions about landing the stage, we'd love to know those, or just any other questions here for the good doctors. If you're part of the replay crew, we still want your questions, we promise. So I guess, where do you think I should start, E?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I feel like I was, this echo. StreamYard, sort yourself. I mean, I guess you could start with why a TEDx? You sort of did a little bit, but like, what was that process of selecting South Lake Tahoe? What was your audition process like? What was your prep process like? Any of those, I think, would be a good place to go next.
Well, that's a great question, because part of my prep actually started way before I decided on South Lake Tahoe. So I had the privilege of being part of Trisha Brooks' Big Talk Academy, which is a 12-week program that narrows down what your big talk is. And that's the first step to doing something like a TED. So TED is different because it's a performance. It's a, there's not a lot of other speaking engagements like it. Like I've done a lot, I've done keynotes, I've done academic stuff, I've done guest lecturing. There's nothing quite like a TED. And so there's a whole kind of rhythm to how successful TED sound. There's a lot of kind of bizarre mysticism to the organization itself. And so kind of getting my message nailed down was the first step. So I worked on that throughout, my God, October, November, December. And I always knew I wanted to do something around the idea that tolerance was the wrong way to look at things, because you and I have been doing that workshop for a couple of years now, and we've gotten some really good feedback on it and some really continued learning. And I knew that was what I wanted to play with. So I got to do a 7-minute version of that talk for Trisha's graduation show, which is the virtual showcase, which is up on the YouTubes already. We'll link it below if you want the 7-minute version of my TED Talk. 17-minute version of my TED Talk. And so then I made the decision to dream big and step into what is possible, and started working with Trisha one-on-one. And she's the one who suggested and brought South Lake Tahoe to my attention for a couple of reasons. One, she had another client that spoke at it and raved about the organizing team and how wonderful and professional they were. And the other was that their theme was resilience. Mm. And resilience is there a more timely conversation right now? There is not.
We're hearing that word a lot these days.
And I thought that my idea of introducing hospitality and listening and conversations and humility and all the other things that come with my big idea would fit resilience really, really well. So I applied, and every TEDx has a different application. I'll tell you, there's like kind of 5 or 6 basic questions most people ask. What is your big idea? Why is it worth spreading? What does this mean to the community? Why are you the one to do it? That's a big thing. And then, something kind of else. And so TEDx South Lake Tahoe had a couple of those questions. They were very, very passionate about making sure that it would apply directly to the Tahoe community. So did a lot of research on, for instance, I learned that Lake Tahoe is absolutely massive. It's 72 miles around, which is way bigger than I thought it was. So started really kind of doing a lot of reading a lot of local articles about South Lake Tahoe, kind of figuring that out. And so then they did not ask for a video audition. Others have. I'm also in the process of auditioning for TEDx Chicago, and they asked for a video audition. And actually they have now asked for an in-person audition. So I'll be flying in a couple weeks to Chicago to do that. But so there's quirks and nuances for every application process. So South Lake Tahoe asked for this all online. I hit send, 100% assumed I would never hear back. and which Erin is rolling her eyes, and when Trisha watches this, she will be rolling her eyes. The biggest, I'll tell you just flat out, and I'm happy to talk about this if folks in the chat are curious. The biggest part of this journey for me, actually, even beyond the preparation, was the emotional preparation of what it meant to step on that stage. Figuring out my memorization, my makeup, and my outfit was nothing compared to the mental and emotional preparation of getting on that stage. So that's another thing as well. So then I was contacted by the organizer on a Friday night. I will never forget it. I was checking my email just to actually it's like a terrible habit I have where when I pick up my phone, I check my email and there was an invitation to be one of the speakers there was over 100 odd folks that had applied, and it had gotten down to 9 of us. And did I want to be one of the 9? I lost my ever loving mind, called Dr. Erin immediately, started screaming into the phone, and then voxed Trisha and called my parents. And as a family, we decided that at the time, my mother and I were the only ones vaccinated of our tribe. And so Dr. Erin could not travel. My husband could not travel. So we chose and decided. And so the whole prep, I knew that my mother would be with me. So she was a key part of the prep. She actually went to some of the in-person performance rehearsals with Trisha so that she and Trisha could talk about how to keep me mentally balanced. I referred to her as my emotional support mommy. And anyone who has ever met Joyce Carol Nielsen knows that she is a saint among humans and is the best emotional support person you could ever have.
So that is her calling in life, is to be an emotional support person.
Like, she is, like, when you meet her, you're like, oh, you're a mother. Like, she's just one of those humans.
Even if she had never had kids, like, she's just a mothering person.
Completely. As I think for all of my friends that are watching that are Enneagram heads, I think she's a 9 because like just harmony and togetherness and family are her core values. So knew that to begin with, and then started writing the script. So I had this 7-minute version. Then I had to turn it into the script. When I read it through, I wanted the script to be between 12 and 15 minutes because I knew there was going to need to be time for pauses. So worked on that, went back and forth with Erin a bit on phrasing and understandings. And is this joke okay? And what does this look like? And then started physical rehearsals with Trisha. Also decided on my outfit. Started getting my teeth whitened because I didn't want to look like a coffee addict while I was doing it. Made strategy around my hair coloring, talked to my stylist to like strategize out when we do my hair, talked to the wonderful women who do my nails about like what color they thought I should use and how long out and how long do we think they should be and everything else. So that when I walked on that stage, there was nothing about my body that distracted at all from what the words coming out of my mouth. So I think that's kind of an overview.
Yeah. And I think if anybody out there watching this, either live or on the replay, is an introvert, you will feel exhausted just by listening to what everything I'm sitting here like, oh my God, that would be just too much. So if anybody wanted further proof why she's always going to be the one on that red dot, and I'll be behind her with like a latte and her purse. Cheering her on. Yeah, I think it's so important to talk about the emotional preparation for it, because that's even been a big part of my journey being comfortable speaking in public, is figuring out what I needed to do for preparation. And everybody prepares differently. And I think that's the thing that's so important about it, is oftentimes, we can see people selling like speaking coach, like if you do these 5 things, you'll be a successful speaker. There is no one size fits all model for speaking because everybody's different. They have a different set of, one of my favorite quotes from a really random movie, Must Love Dogs. But I have an obsession with John Cusack that goes back a long, long way. A unique constellation of attributes, and everybody has a unique constellation of attributes. So I think we've talked about this a lot, that like, this was the time that you were ready to do this.
Yeah.
And that you wouldn't have been ready to do this because of all of the emotional labor that went into getting you on that stage, at different parts in your life, because different circumstances were happening and your unique constellation of attributes was in a different position. So I think I just wanted to make sure and highlight that. I'm not sure this is going to transition to another question. I'm still talking until I figure it out. But I think that's like pulling that out of what you just said, if we're talking about advice for anybody who wants to do any sort of public engagement or preparation for a big event, like it goes back to self-awareness. It goes back to emotional intelligence, to understanding yourself and what your kind of barriers are, what your barriers might be. Some of yours, I know, surprised us, but we got, but not really. Like they were kind of like, oh yeah, we should have seen that coming. But then having people around you, that bring that balance. And I hate the overuse of the word grounded, but I really do feel like it's an important word. And I think the people that kind of keep you tethered.
Yeah, I mean, there's 14 things in there, right? So
You're welcome.
I say it on like almost every podcast I'm interviewed on, and someone asks me like how some variation of the question of like, how do I do it? And the answer is I outsource my emotional well-being to other people. And like they think I'm being pithy, but I'm not. Like I know myself well enough to know that I will treat myself horribly.
Spiral.
And will not prioritize my own self. I'm surely getting better. That's certainly a growth area. But until I have a better handle on my own soul, there are a handful of you who are in charge of it. And I don't find that to be a weakness or problematic. I actually find that works for us, and that's really great, because I definitely still ignore you all sometimes when you tell me I'm not okay, but I still have total agency over my own dysfunction. But the key to stand on that stage, like, so I think, and I've talked about this, if anyone's on Instagram, please follow us at Abby Research. We are not creative folks. We are at Abby Research everywhere. You can see that right down there. I did a Instagram live TV series on my preparation, and there was a whole episode, 7 whole minutes of my life, where I talk about a really fundamental, pivotal conversation I had in a parking lot in Doylestown, Pennsylvania, with my friend Angie Fondy, where I just said, well, it's not really a big deal. I don't want to bother people with this TEDx thing. And like, if Angie was somebody who slapped people across the face, that's what she would have done. And she then very lovingly, gently, but firmly said, like, it is a big deal. And also you are a big deal to all of us, and we want to support you in this. And so then she rallied a couple of our other close friends, and I got to do a in-person rehearsal, which was essential, that I would not have thought was essential at all. And it changed the ball game for me emotionally.
Yeah.
And the generosity of those people that gathered in that living room to give me a couple hours of their Saturday to hear the same talk 3 times in a row. To a lot of other people, like, I understand that, like, people listening, they're like, well, of course people would do that for you. That is, when we talk about the emotional journey that we had to go on, that makes no sense to me. That is something I'm still struggling with, is why I am worth the time of other people. And that's still something I will deal with forever, just in complete vulnerability. And it's one of the reasons that we do feel so honored whenever someone joins us for a live, or every time we get a comment or anything else, because we take your time sacredly. And we never ever want to take it for granted. And so we try to be good value for your time, since it's the only non-renewable resource. So anytime somebody wants to give me their time, it floors me. It just absolutely floors me. And so I was really, really grateful. But yeah, the emotional walls we hit as we went through this process, I was not prepared for.
Yeah.
And I had Aaron, I had my mom, I had the aforementioned Angie, I had some other folks. I had my brother, who was a big part of this process too. And I would kind of hit them at different times and say, like, oh, I just discovered this. And they would look at me and be like, oh my God, yes, of course. Or yeah, we've known that forever, depending on who it was, because my brother gives me no space to wimp out of things, as he would say. So
yeah, Grace is he shows grace in an interesting way, our Brian.
Yeah, I was like, oh, well, Trisha's training me to do this. And he goes, oh, are you not doing that stupid voice that you do anymore when you speak? Great. I was like, I did a stupid voice. Thanks, Brian.
Thanks for the help, Betty.
He's my brother is, anyone who has not seen our interview on this channel, It's called in the Welcome to My World series. It's the very first one. And we talk about what it's like to run a family business together. He's one of my favorite humans. So know that. But I think overall, if taking a TED stage is something that you have a dream to do, know it is achievable. And it is work. And if it is not work that you are willing to put in for whatever reason, the time, you don't think you have the idea, there's a lot. I would encourage you to just keep that as a dream until you're ready to do the work. Because applying before you're ready is only going to lead to disappointment, either that you get in and the video is not the performance that you want it to be, or that you don't get in and you get discouraged. Like, this is something that is a thing. And there's no shortage of people that can help you just determine if you're ready. Obviously, we recommend Trisha with 2 thumbs way up and a big whole heart for a host of reasons.
Best.
And not just because she helped me land a stage, but because she's just one of those people that attracts good people. And so the folks that we've gotten to meet through her have been unbelievable. So, but there's no shortage. The minute I landed a TEDx talk, my entire Facebook algorithm was full of, do you need coaching to get on a TEDx stage? Like, thank you.
Creepy
Thank you, Facebook. Yeah, thanks, Facebook. It's okay. I've started using Thrive Cosmetics, by the way, which is my new favorite brand of cosmetics. And my poor friends that I'm on Marco Polo with, all of a sudden their entire Instagram feeds were full of Thrive Cosmetic adverts. But it's okay, because every time they talk about kids' clothes, I get baby clothes in my feed. So turnabout is fair play.
I was about to say turnabout is fair play. Yeah, but thanks, Zuckerberg, for that.
Such a nightmare. So overall, I would say, it was a dream come true. Business-wise, I think it was really important. I did really well. Jay, I am sorry that you have gotten the Thrive Cosmetics. It's because you watched it on Instagram. I bet you that's it.
Don't follow us on Instagram, but be wary of the Thrive commercials that are
Be wary of the Thrive commercials. Jay is also, I should say, somebody who is in that network of people that held my hands as I was in a ball in the corner. So, and is very, very good at talking me down via Discord. And that's a very special skill set. So, and someday when Canada is open again, we will hug her in thanks. But
so many Canadian friends to visit. I'm excited.
It's going to be great.
It's going to be great.
I am very comfortable saying I did a really good job, which is not something I would have been comfortable saying before I took this journey. I still would have been like, well, I guess it was okay. Like, no, I did a really good job. And I did a really good job because I did the work ahead of time. Mm-hmm. And so that when Jeff, who was the MC, announced my name, I walked out into that dot and I told myself, I have 18 minutes to change the world. Let's go. Like, that was the sentient thought through my brain. And I think I was respectful of those 18 minutes. And I think that it was really good. The few folks that have been able to watch it or were there in the room have affirmed that it was quite good. So that's exciting. And and let me just say, before we wrap up here, I want to give I hate the phrase shout out. Phil Murphy ruined it during his COVID press conferences. So I want to say a public thank you.
There we go.
He said it was like a shot when he says shout out.
Oh.
I want to say a public thank you to the entire team of TEDx South Lake Tahoe, top to bottom, generous, in service to the ideas and the speakers, the things they arranged, the ways they were helpful, the stuff I didn't even have to think about because they already had.
Top notch. Yeah.
Unbelievable. I was so sad we had to leave the next day because I could have stayed for a couple days and just gotten to know all of them. I told Megan, who's one of the directors on Instagram this week, I felt like a fairy. I just came in and then foofed away because I didn't have time to get to know anybody. But they were incredible. And the work that the South Lake Tahoe Community College is doing around inclusivity for its students on ability levels. One of my fellow speakers, Alicia Anderson, speaks about being in a wheelchair. And when she came into the stage the first time, she said, guys, this entire building is accessible. Thank you so much. And I was just so proud. I had nothing to do with that, but I was so proud that this organization 15 years ago, when they built the theater, remembered to build it accessibly.
Right.
And so South Lake Tahoe is doing the work. And it was really incredible to be a part of it for 18 minutes. And I'm really, really, really grateful for that. So if any of them ever watch it, I love you and I miss you. Thank you for this experience. So my fellow speakers you will get flooded with them too, everybody.
It was very clear. I was very fortunate to get a link to watch the private YouTube stream of the entire event, and it was very clear how well organized it was, how they made it a community event, because we got to hear about the sponsors that were involved and the food and drink and intermission, and like you could tell it was about engaging with the community and sharing space, giving space to these ideas, when that's what a TED experience should be. And so even through, if our friends at South Lake Tahoe ever do watch this, I will let you know, even through my YouTube, through my computer screen and my TV screen, that was very evident, the level of care and intentionality that went into it. And that's such an important lesson for, like, we talk about being empathy educators, right? But like, that is an example of how you run an event guided by empathy.
Absolutely.
And like, it's so important to think about not just the logistics of organizing an event, of making sure you have the sound and all of that kind of stuff, but making sure that you think about the fact that you're having humans there.
Yeah.
And not,
and for us, some of us were humans who this is the first time we had seen people in a year. Like, there was that added thing, and they cared for us so well.
Especially in the COVID of it all. And not just the obvious, not so obvious, for a lot of our neighbors in various disability communities. It is not always obvious to even consider that, but like, that might be the more visible things you should consider. I'll perhaps say it that way. That Alicia, as a speaker, is wheelchair bound. And so you might go, oh yes, if we don't have that in place, we need to make sure we have accessibility. But like, caring for the emotional well-being of your humans, especially as something as big as this, but even at small things, even if you're doing a small thing, think about the emotional well-being of the people you're asking, and how you can help support that and make sure that they know that you support that. Whether it's, making sure they can bring a guest, or having a quiet space for reflection, or whatever you can do. But I think it's not something I necessarily thought that much about. And then just being virtually present through your experience and hearing how they were treating you and all the other speakers was such a great reminder of that.
Yeah. I mean, we had we had the ability to be whoever we needed to be throughout that process. So if we needed time to ourselves, I mean, there was obviously, like, we had to be at rehearsal, et cetera, et cetera. But I think that's a big thing to remember. Whatever time, in whatever spaces you are hosting other people, remember to allow them the space to be who they need to be. Especially if you're asking them to perform on any level. It's a thing. So I think that's all I've really got for now. If anyone in the replay crew, again, we will remind you, has questions about my TEDx experience or anything else we said here, we will be monitoring the comments as we always do. We'll be getting back to you. So to wrap up, my TEDx South Lake Tahoe talk was live in South Lake Tahoe, California on May 15th. The video will be live most likely by the end of the summer. There is a lot of professionalism that goes on behind the scenes that I have no control over. But as soon as it is released into the wild, absolutely everybody will know about it. Don't worry, we're not going to be shy. And so if you're listening to this and you're like, but I haven't seen her TED Talk, it's good news. Only about 100 people have. So it's not wild. Taylor, thank you so much for saying that you are excited to watch it when it becomes available. It really does make my heart squishy, is the word I keep using. Roxanne, for yours as well. It all makes me feel very squishy to know that this is now part of our lives and part of our story. And we are honored for you. Sorry, go ahead.
I have two things to wrap up, announcements that I forgot. Probably should have gone at the beginning, but hopefully our friends watching and or replay folks will see this. If you follow our Handmaid's Tale coverage on the YouTubes, we have talked about and teased about doing a live video. And drum roll, we're doing one. We decided it is scheduled for June 4th, next Friday. Next Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time in the United States. do the appropriate math wherever
And
you
Canada,
are.
technically, because
In
our
North
guest is
America.
in Toronto. So yes,
Yep.
the entire Eastern Seaboard. Yeah.
Eastern Standard Time in North America. We will be live with our dear friend and colleague, Dr. Nadine Thornhill, who is a fantastic human and a big Handmaid's Tale fan. We will make sure and link the race and representation video that we did last season with Dr. Nadine, which was fire. And you can get a sense for how awesome she is. She also has done a Welcome to My World about pleasure and consent with Dr. Kristen, which was fantastic. So get excited for that. Hopefully you can join us live, bring questions, bring thoughts and comments, or make sure you watch the replay if you can't catch it. The other thing I want to make sure and shout out real quick, there will be a link in this show notes to an academic survey being done at the University of Illinois about the impact of the COVID-19 vaccine on folks who menstruate, because, spoiler alert, it's having an impact on menstrual cycles, and we don't have a lot of data on it. And one of the important things about understanding the impact of medicine and bodies is understanding the different impact on genders and sex. So if you are a human who menstruates and you've gotten or will get the COVID-19 vaccine, please fill out the form. We need to collect this data so we can make sure that vaccines are safe and effective going forward for all humans. So that is it. Roxanne, we cannot wait for you to join us next week. Yes.
And also, we'll say we are fun to when we talk about Handmaid's Tale, we will try to make it so if you're not quite watching Handmaid's Tale, but you just think we're funny, that you'll be able to enjoy as well. The conversation is going to be a lot of thematic. Jay, the survey is international, so please go ahead. It's for anyone who menstruates on the planet. Make sure to spread it widely. The University of Illinois is simply the one that has the funding to conduct the research. But in regards to our video, it's a lot more about the themes of storytelling and some of the themes of imprisonment and gender and race that the show is pretending it's talking about. So if you're interested at all, or if you're someone who's like, well, I've heard of this show, but it sounds too depressing to watch, good news, we're going to give you a too long didn't read to impress all of your friends as though you watched the show, which is one of the things. Someday we'll talk about all the books that I tell people I've read that I never have actually read, but I know enough about to say and sound smart at cocktail parties. So if you want to be that person with Handmaid's Tale, join us next Friday. We can't wait to have you.
That is our Good Doctors Diagnose discussion for this Tuesday. As a reminder, we will again be on Tuesday next week, because in the United States, next Monday is Memorial Day, which is a holiday. So we're going to not be on Zoom or StreamYard for that day. We will be back. I think we were going to talk more about boundary setting at work.
Exactly. We are going to, in response to a direct question from the aforementioned and fabulous Angie Fondy, who has asked us to talk about boundary setting at work, especially emotional boundaries, and the particular labor that women sometimes face disproportionately to men in the workplace. So if you've got thoughts, feelings, stories, questions about that topic, or know somebody who does, join us Tuesday, June the 1st at 11 a.m. As we barrel into summer here in the Northern Hemisphere.
It's fine. It's going to be 90 degrees today. It's fine.
Okay, it's going to be like 52 at the shore this weekend. So cool. Everything's fine.
Whatever.
Everything's fine. We'll see you when we see you. If not, if by next then, don't forget we've got a ton of other videos going on the YouTubes. If you haven't done the YouTubey things of liking this video and subscribing to our channel, please do the YouTubey things. And we will see you when we see you. All the best, friends. Thanks for being part of our lives.
Bye.
Bye.